It's another beautiful day. Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome back from whatever you've been doing. How was your week? Viva Devita. It's another Saturday as usual. It is Penny Passes as usual. I'm back bringing you another artist. This one is not an artist, but he is a producer of the day. He's an inspiration. He's good. He's a man of God. And we have him today on the chat. I know you're going to learn a lot of things. So I pray that Totenya, don't blink. Let us go for a short break and then come back later with him. Praise God. How are you? Welcome to the Gospel Chat, Dema Gospel Chat.
Thank you.
We are glad to have you today.
It's an honor to be here also this day.
Please try to introduce yourself to the people watching you tonight.
My name is Solomon Okwiri. I love being called Solomon Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, others call me Mr. Okay. I'm a music producer, a husband, a father. I don't know, I cannot tell it all, but I bless the Lord that we are here today, and we are glad that you're tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in, and really, once again, I'll say that it's an honor to be on this broadcast here with Penny and the team. Thank you so much.
Wow, there is something that you've said that you love being Mr. Okay. Why? Every time okay? Is everything okay with you? You have no problems, no challenges. Why okay?
Most definitely okay, but okay means okay. Yes, just okay, Mr. Okay. So it's just Mr. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought everything works good for you.
Mm-hmm. Everything is working for my good.
No challenges, no everything.
Whatever whatever way they come, in whatsoever way they work together for good, which is okay.
I understand. People watching us tonight, we've had our introduction with the man of God. By the way, he's anointed, and in the interview, together with Mr. Okay, and I know he's going to favor us. I have a feeling there is an audience, and they really want to mix Luganda and English. So, Mr. Okay, you favor them. He's Solomon Okwiri, but we are going to call him Mr. Okay, as he has told us. And before we ask more of questions about music and everything, Mr. Okay, you've introduced yourself about your father, your husband, everything. I mean, you just don't look what you are. You look so youthful.
Yeah, well, it began as, should I call it, first of all, it was a dream, an ambition put together. I remember, the reason that's why, probably I should say married, or I got married early. I got married at 25.
Oh my God.
And my wife then was 21.
I guess
Yeah, ambition and dreams put together.
At 21.
It began in a very fascinating way. I was in, I think, senior 2 and 3. And there were these parents who used to come visit their kids at school. And the kids would always ask their Dad, why didn't Mommy come? And Mom was busy. But then the kids would always be asked, is this your dad or your granddad? And so the kids never liked it. So once in a while, every time their dad would come, he was such an old man with gray hair. And the kids would hide, and they say, they couldn't find them, but simply because they were hiding from being embarrassed that their dad, I'm sorry to say, yeah, if they are watching, I'm sorry, I'm telling their story. But out of that, I said, I will not wait to give birth old. so that I might have fun with my little children. Recently, we went with my kids, my entire family, to a beach, and I had fun with them. My daughter is 8 years old, my firstborn daughter. So I was all like, imagine if you're 20, and let me say if you're 30, let me not rush young men who are watching. If you're 30 and you want to have your firstborn at 30, by the time you're 40, she will be 10. And by the time you're 50, she's 20.
Oh my God.
And now imagine.
I'm calculating now.
Imagine if you say I will wait longer, I still have time. Then you're 40. And now that means your firstborn, when you're 50, she's 10. When you're 60, she's 20. 65, she's 25, walking her down the aisle. So I also want to be like, I wanted that dream which I recently had with my parents, rather with my family. Me and my wife and our kids will go swimming, whereby I put them on my back, Daddy, at the beach, in the lake.
And they can feel the vibe.
Yes, because you're both young, rather than being in a swimming pool with them and you can't stretch to swim. So that is a dream I had, and the ambition pushed me. That's why I was saying dream and ambition put together. So that, of course, we all have dreams, but ambition is the ambitiousness pushing you to the goal and say, come what may, babe, this time. Wasn't
it very hard for you, because you were both very young, not even young, but very young for that day?
Yes, it was. I can't say it was as a piece of cake, a walkover. Of course, also my girlfriend, who's my wife today, didn't know that. And of course, talking to her parents wasn't that easy. You get me? Go, Charlie. Ujje, I mean, why are you rushing into it? Now, telling my family, also my uncles, my parents. Yeah, so it wasn't a simple walkover, and I bless the Lord also, He was there for us. But like I said, ambitiousness kept me pushing this till we achieved it.
I think that word was for me every time I see myself young. Every time I look at 5 years to come, but you never know.
Yeah, there are people who look forward also to getting married, and they say, let's get married. Now that we're married, they're like, we want to have fun first. For 5 years without kids. Yeah, good idea. And I have a couple of friends like that, and they asked me, how come for us we want to get married? First wait and have kids first. I said, hey there, that's a very good idea. Build yourselves, establish yourselves, get to know each other, because the moment you get married right away and your wife is pregnant, or there are those what they call first trimester, those changes, and you're like, there's a woman I just married and now this one is different. What's happening? The changes are drastic. But now what happens in this regard, we're like, what if I bring in the other idea? What if I bring in the other idea of the age calculation? Calculating age and say, within this age I'll be this, within this age I need to have achieved this. But now when it comes to this, you're like, I've had people like that. I've told them, you either have fun first, you have fun with the two of you first, or have the kids and forget about the fun. Have them first, then when they grow, they're independent, have your fun later.
Wow.
Because I imagine when you're in your 40s and 60s, you're running after kids. because now you're taking your kids to school. Now that's when you're taking your kids to your grandmama. Because imagine the age of 60 and your grandmama may not be at position or in the position of carrying their grannies, or probably they are going to be with the Lord. But at least you rather have the fun. For us, we sacrificed our fun. Like after they have grown now, probably even when all of them are 10, rather and 10 and above, or teenagers, they can take care of themselves.
Yeah, I understand.
Or maybe when they are working, they can take care of their own bills. And so there we have our fun and go. I know maybe me and my wife, the future, we may not go to the beach anymore to know. Maybe but we shall go to the swimming pool. And then travel the world. Yeah, of course we've had a chance to travel. Yes. But then in the future, whereby you're traveling and you're not worried about the kid. But now you all have your ticket, go find your seat, find your gate where your gate passing. I mean, that's the advantage of that. Yes. So to anyone who's getting married, you have choice. You can choose from all those options.
We shall choose. So, Mr. Okay. So, after that, tell me about your education. Did you go to school?
Wow. Well, here in Uganda, first of all, going to school is speaking English. But nowadays, things changed. You learn English at home.
Yes.
My kids speak English even before I went to school. Well, I did go to school.
And what did you study? What are your bachelor's?
I just did a very different course from what I'm doing now. Okay, it is not so different either. It was something to do with mass comm. Yes, but I specialized in audio visual production.
But that is not different.
It's not different. It's just that when we went there, they took us much more into news reporting like press and what. So, but there's a course I majored in. It was audio visual.
So did you get chance to get some vacancies about what you had studied? Or after leaving school, you started your own thing?
Well, after leaving school, those years, that was around 2009, 2010 when I did that.
You're not that old.
Yeah. So, but during that time, there was an ongoing revival of the ministry I was ministering with at that time. And we were moving all around the country and other world destinations. So we're moving, and I never had that. I don't want to call it an opportunity, because even where I was, it was an opportunity. Okay, I never had that, I should call it probably an obligation to go into what I really had studied for during that moment or during those days. But, like studying law and what, because it had all those additions in it. So, but I never, apart from having the general knowledge of it, I never really went into the practicalities.
So when did you start this? Because I see you have some good work. You've done a lot of projects. You are an inspiration to so many youths. Tell us how your journey has been to reaching here. Where did you get that dream? Did you dream about being who you are currently? Or after you seeing that by'osomye biyinza obutakukolera n'odduka n'ojja eno mu music, how did you reach here? How has been your journey to here?
Wow, thank you for that. My journey comes all the way from, first of all, traveling from Fort Portal, where my home is,
to Kampala.
to Kampala. That's my journey.
Don't lose hope.
I traveled. So, but when I was in Fort Portal, there's a ministry that groomed me. It's called Christian Fellowship under Pastor K.L. Dixon. That ministry groomed me from after the moment I left P7,
Mm.
I joined that church. But before leaving primary, I used to participate in the school activities like music. But the school activities then, that section of music was this local Madinda,
Ngalabi.
Yet I had this passion in me of loving music. I think I also had a DNA hidden somewhere.
Of music.
Why am I saying so is I have a very fascinating testimony where I used to collect a lot of tapes. Cassette. A cassette tape was married to a boyfriend called a pen, a big pen. You take home, I spending a battery, Walkman. So then with the cassette, I used to gather, collect, and sometimes spoil them. How do they record things on this thin line? And then I also started recording myself on a cassette. I recorded a song that I had, Yvonne Chaka Chaka, those days. And you record, and then you sing and hear yourself what you recorded. Okay. Then you record as something else. Then I would do beats. And then you record on a cassette and you hear yourself. I'm like, how can I record multiple things? And how come I'm recording? But anyhow, to cut the story short, that was how the recording bit began. To a point that now I'm not just a music producer, I'm an audio and recording engineer. Now, to bring you from that line to a point, why did I say DNA? Was my mom was told to always stop me from doing that. Parents, now listen. My mom would be told, tomukuba ayinona kaseti radio azonona azisumulula akebere bye ba recording siza mu radio ekiki recording ate n'omuleka, and she's bound to kept on buying. Well, now my mom one day said, the reason as to why I leave my kid is because I was playing, there's an album that she used to play by ABBA when I was in her womb. She played it over and over and over and over and over until she gave birth. And then she forgot about it. Here I am, I think at 9 months or a year, and I start singing the song.
That same song.
As a child, doing my things, singing the song she hasn't heard about it. And those days the radio was only Radio Uganda. There was no FM. If there was a TV, it was UTV, which would even start at 6 in the evening and close at 12. So, but as far as photo TV wasn't, reaching there. So there wasn't any medium of listening to anything else. I mean, whereby she could have heard that song again, or maybe the kid could have heard that song again. But then I'm trying to say that I was introduced probably to music DNA when I was still in the womb. So parents, it's really, really important what you play when you're pregnant. And what you even drink. If you keep boozing, that DNA will mix in there. And the
parent is good at eating, these are the people we see that have a lot of appetite.
My daughter loves chips. I'm like, man, did you ever eat chips when? Maybe when my daughter loves so much sausages, I'm like, I know somebody who used to eat sausages when she was expecting. But anyhow, so whatever you introduce to the children, I mean, at that tender age, can eventually influence their future. I have seen that. I've seen it with my family before. I have some siblings. Gladly, my whole family doesn't drink. Especially my mom's sisters and my dad's. But my grandmom, before she got born again, she used to make her money and educate all her children with making brew, like weighing alcohol and locotonto, whatever it was. So she introduced it in the family business. Then she got born again and quit. So for us, by the time we came in, she had quit the job. I kind of found her fading out the business. But the rest of the eldest cousins I found in that family, all of them till today,
they still
are struggling with drinking. Yeah. So whatever you introduce to children and to us, you know. So going back to the question, how? So it begins, that journey begins from there. From then primary school, I found myself playing the music, then joined this ministry. Joining this ministry, I found myself having to quit home.
Wow, there's always that hard time.
I imagine I was in P7 back, I quit home. Please don't do it if you're watching, because that formula may not work today. You may die. And you say, because Solomon did it and I'll do it. No, it may not work. This day and age, you might catch COVID. Yeah, so I quit home to the church. Now the church, the pastors who were there chased me away, go back home. The senior pastor wasn't around. He had traveled to the US. Now the lady pastor who was there comes and tells me, go back home. You're going to die here in the cold. And Fort Portal is too cold. You're going to die in the cold. Run, go. You've escaped from home. I left my grandmom. By then I was staying with my grandmom. So to say my parents had passed by then. May their souls rest in peace. But now I leave my grandmom home. There's this feeling I'm feeling in my spirit.
You cannot stay at home anymore.
It's a heavy calling. It's calling me. And I go to church. Now the pastor comes back. I'd been there for about 2-3 months. Escaping, they're chasing me away. Sneaking in at night. I don't know why up till today, but there was a driving. Now the pastor comes and they tell him, there's a young man who ran out from home, ABCD. And he said, leave that young man. The God who brought him will be the God who will take him away. If he's insisting to stay. Give him food, give him what. Every time they would chase me away, I never went back home. I would go to the streets. So I slept on the streets for about almost a year by then.
It's a long time.
Things don't come easy. So I should say I was once a street kid, but not this kind of street kid. I was a good sharp one. I never begged. By the way, I never begged. But somehow I think I remember I did. There is no such a kid life whereby you don't.
You can't beg.
Yeah, but not going. Yeah, there's this kind of smart begging. I find you eating and like, hey, chapata energy mala. Yeah, so that's smart begging. So from there, the church eventually, I cut the long story short, I learned everything at church. The church welcomed me. From there, I was made a minister. Then from that point on, I had an opportunity a friend of mine connected me to a school here in Kampala. That's how I connected to Kampala. Kampala, I landed in a school. That school, they needed a keyboard player. And I joined the school because it was promoting itself. I joined that school from my senior 2-3 up to senior 4. As I was there, the school was going as the director of the scripture union, playing their music, going in churches, performing. Muyimba bulungi. Mulisomero ki? Gondi. Sijakola kalango. Bampeza kalango next time. So from there, I come across one gentleman and he said, man, you play so nice. If I take you to my pastor, he'll like you. I said, really? And who's that? Said Pastor Robert Kayanja. I said, oh, yeah, I've been to Miracle Center before once in a while, but you guys, I see you in glory. up there.
Mubitala.
Said, yeah, I should take you. And so the young man, his name was Simon, and he took me to Miracle Center, introduced me to the gentleman who was playing music at that time. That was around 2008, 2007, 8 there. So I got introduced to Miracle Center. So that's the journey now I'm trying to take you through. From there, I pick up the gentleman who was there, Pastor Mark. He had trained so many young people to stay in his shoes. And all of the people he would train would quit, would go. And then when he sees me, he's like, "Okay, I've been praying. God has been telling me it's my time to leave, but I did not know until I saw you." I'm like, "Shut up. With all the skills and the excellent skill that you are, man, anointed. Now you're thinking of
Me.
you know what you're talking about? Do you know where I come from, by the way? Village! Port Porto is not a village as such. Nowadays it's a city. But from that point on, as I get introduced, rather he welcomes me in, shows me a few corners of the ministry as an old groom, So from that point on, that's when I get introduced to Robert Kanja Ministries. As I get introduced to Robert Kanja Ministries, luckily enough, I found it was another place which could hub or mentor my calling, and as well impact my spirit, and also inspire my skills. Because I found the music is there, it's good. The art of music, like going to other churches where the music there is practically just, I don't want to call it local music, because even when you go to the US, their music, they call it our local music. So local is not a bad word, but our local music here, then was just what I would call 3 major chords. So musicians, you know what I'm talking about. Just 3 chords. But when I come here, they still welcome what I used to love as music and passion. And so I discovered I can thrive here. And so I grew, I was welcomed in the ministry. I learned a lot of things from there. From the skills which I had and the passion I had, the school added value. So all put together, that's the journey that brings me back from the womb, a boy listening to a song, to this person who's producing songs. I mean, let me first allow me, please. Let me return to her. I've overspoken too much.
No, we came here to interview you, and it's very well. Okay, wow, your story has been so touching. In most cases, when we see you in lights, we think, connections in position. We literally do not think of the other side.
Yes.
That maybe this person suffered to reach where he is currently.
No, I'm not this person who sings. But I love that at least the Bible sums it all up and says Ebenezer. This is the Father Lord has brought us. Because even our today's story, we seem okay here where we are. You never know, when you meet me again, I will be at another level. And then you see this video and footage, you're like, So it all sums up to that point, Ebenezer, because we are still going. You two are still going from wherever you are at that position.
Everyone watching us tonight, this is Solomon, Mr. Okay, and man, he has a story to tell. So nga oli eyo okyakabisa kajanja otalidde emmere emu n'ogamba ngenda bivaamu. He has told us he spent almost a year ng'asobola ku studio. I don't know your story, but for him, I've heard his story. So as we are continuing with the chat, I pray that you do listen. Tola Abulabi need Seka, but please get words that may inspire you and wake up you from slumber, you know, where you are. Things are not easy, but at the end of the day, the world will be proud of you. Like, we are proud of you.
Yes,
So first tell me about the projects you've done so far. Bantu bameka bokoledde ku project, I mean, bantu ki bokoledde ku project ezikuggyeyo nga gwe Solomon ne tutandika n'okunoonya, you know?
Wow. We are still at the beginning. Pim Records has been there. I've produced quite a number of people, though sometimes Pim Records sometimes has operated as an individual. Sometimes, those years. I've featured in projects and in albums with quite a number of people. I've done a song before with Hildaman.
I won't comment.
That Christian song of his, that was years. I worked with him in some.
And you were the man behind it.
Yes. So those years. So imagine coming from that time, then I come to there's this lady I've done a song with who Isaiah Katuma used to push. She's called Rachel. There's something like that. Rachel, this lady who sang there's that song something. Rachel Namu. I mean, those are the few artists I used to do when I wasn't really established as Pim Records. Then I've also worked with Proclaim and the Robert Kayanja Ministries for years. I've also worked with the music and the Robert Kayanja Ministries, the entire project. Isaac Seru Kenya.
Wow.
Isaac Seru Kenya, all his music, normally says apart from what he calls the Genesis Project, which he did in the 90s. So when it comes to all the live music that you've seen of him, both me and him have come along the way. And I thank God for all these people I've mentioned because they believed in me. Literally, from the time those projects have sounded in Uganda, there was no such thing as live music production. It wasn't. He was always going to studio, arrange the beats on the pianos and the computer, and just music arrangements. But there was no such a thing as live music production here. If we are to mention how many studios do this in Uganda, I only know 2, especially at a professional level. The rest, I've had people, by the way, I've had pastors, I've had many people. I've also had people who have come here at studio claiming, they say, we went to so and so, they told us they could do the work, we spoiled our work. So producers normally say, we can do it. I'm not saying they can't. They believe in themselves just like I did. And I'm not saying, please don't be dismayed, don't be demoralized, you can do it. And so these platforms that I just mentioned where I produced, they believed in me to a point that even if you were to listen to the first project I mixed for Proclaim with my other brother called Nicholas as we were working, if you listen to it now and to the current projects, there's a huge jump over miles, and I mean step of difference of sound. Like, and by then even people loved it. They were like, have you heard these kids? Wow, my goodness. And now when you go back to listen, you're like, don't say I'm gonna do that.
Are you for real?
Yes, so we have had such points, but I thank God I'm in such people and the ministries where we were groomed believed in us. So whosoever that is watching, as a pastor, a man of God, continue believing in young people. By the way, I'm still young, though now I'm also speaking to young people. I was once the young people of that generation. Maybe now I'm in the category to say believe in young people because you push us into our destinations. So though sometimes you believe in someone, give them, impact in them all that is needed for them to grow. Sadly, they leave. You train, sometimes, you train, a pastor calls me, train my young man to play keyboard. I train them. Then eventually, the guy calls you again, come and train for me another one. I'm sending you this one. What happened to so-and-so? Nange, another church took him. The reasons of finances, what have you. But yes, sometimes, it's before we go to the topic of finances, sometimes when you train people, don't expect them to really
stay.
Because
I was going to say that in life
you should still be in your school, in your primary school, with your headmaster.
I was going to say that I have a feeling in most cases people always look for greener pastures. For example, if Solomon, you've been paying me 10K every Sunday, and according to my schedules and everything, and my budget 10K is not enough. Then I happen to go to another church that will be giving me 100K. Remember, that 10K is what is facilitating me. Would you advise me to stay with the 10K?
Well, there are needs and demands, definitely. Sometimes what causes people to make up their minds is demand. Like I'm demanded to pay bills at home, I have rent. Now, like right now, I have kids to take to school, and my tuition is millions. So I'm not going to keep on waiting for the Sunday offertory.
Love offering.
Then you want to coco. So I'm sorry. Let me go slow here. This has been a topic that we as musicians and church ministers have struggled with, and men of God and pastors. Musicians are after money. Solomon, by the way, in my days, hearing of being paid money, you are backslidden. Now in my church in Port Portal, our pastor used to say, I bought a keyboard from the US. By the way, I never learned, I'm not bragging, but I never learned my kind of music on a local small keyboard like PSR. Fortunately, I thank God, I learned on these professional keyboards. By then it was Roland XP80. They were the only two keyboards, the only two were in Uganda, and the other one was in Fort Wegam. But then the pastor would say, Kati, I buy a keyboard, this amount of money, I put it on the plane, it comes to Uganda, I pay my electricity, you come and use it. Who and in the school fees? School, have you paid any school fees to use my materials?
Oh my God.
Yeah? Have you paid any school fees to learn on my gadgets and on our stage? And he was right. I hadn't paid any school fees. Well, it wasn't me asking for the money either. It was another superior person who was above me, who had left church, left for Kampala for greener pastures. And so he was complaining. So and so left because he needed money. So and so left because he needed money. People whom I have trained and they haven't, paid back. So I was like, and my learning and investment, that will be my fees, giving back to the ministry, that will be my fees. I will not ask for money. Well, I never asked, but this day to day, young men invest in their skills. They go to school for their skills. they invest even if it's YouTube. That is data, my friend. Ne bweba Freaky Friday ku mutwalo, that is investment. Ne bweba nti yasuza atunula, nasulako lumu nga ntunula nga nkola. I would play keyboard, learn keyboard from 6 because my church activities were busy. So I would start playing, especially music production. I would start from 8 a.m. to around 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. because the keyboard I was using wasn't saving. To save on a floppy disk. And the floppy disk I never had money to buy. They were in floppy disk, not flash. So I would not save. So in order for me to save, I would record it on a cassette, then sleep at around 6 in the morning for 2 hours, then go to class. And by the way, I was a good student. I would perform. I wasn't performing.
I mean, you've started scaring us.
So, but now I'm going to take you to a point that I was using on investing time. Time to learning whatever I learned. That was time investment. Now, let me bring you here. Now, we realize that time is what? Okay, time is, it's not just a Muzungu word. Time is money. And what I decided on to do was to trade time. Because I took time to learn what I learned. Now I'm trading it for a currency. So learn how to use your time and how to trade your time. If say that you've been in church all these years, learning an instrument, learning production, because to me I took more time learning production even than anything else. So I come and I bill you, and you say, Solomon, Yagwa. No, I'm just trading time. I invested a lot in this. Just like a doctor who studies for 7 years, just to call our first degree, then another couple of years to upgrade into a master. And then you go to hospital and they say consultation 50,000. You say that hospital Rabbi. Kangendeko walika clinic. One nurse. Nurse just spent probably 2 years or 3 years. Jaja charging.
It could be turned.
So depending on the time each invested, it costs. It's costly. Same to an engineer. Same to the man of God who spends time in the Word. Okay? Because he has spent a lot of time in the Word. On Sunday, says somebody go deep in your pocket, pick up the biggest note and run here. Why? Because he took time to read what he has just taught you, to invest his spirit. For you who has been out there in the field, you never had time to read. You never had time to go into revelations and depth and what. You never had time for...
Wait, I have a point here. So should we say that also to pastors, that is also a business? Because when you've spoken about pull out your biggest note, and you big out your 10K, you remain with 2,000. So should I say it is always spirit-led or it's a business to them?
I don't want to give it term business so it doesn't run out from business, because when it comes to Jesus, Mary went looking for Jesus in the temple and said, hey, good, Mama, Papa, don't you know I'm supposed to be doing my father's business at the age of 12? So I'm not running from that term. So Jesus at 12 was a businessman. You're joking. So, therefore, when we read in Malachi, the Bible says bring a 10% that there may be food in the house. Even in the Exodus, where God tells men to bring offertory so that there is at least whereby the priests and the Levites don't have to go out there to work. They needed to be in the presence of the Lord all the time. So as a result, you're the ones who, for them, they're in the presence of God. Then they come and minister to the saints who have been out there in the field. So for those who are out there in the field, they go out there and work. But now this is the challenge musicians come across, is they eventually come as the ministers now to depend on what the other people brought in the house, and there is nothing to be given to them. That's why they end up complaining, and it's musicians are complaining. I thank God the ministry where I was serving, I never quit ministry. I'm just engaged in other things. There's time for everything. Up to now, I'm still ministering. But I never quit my daily activities or my full-time activities of that ministry because of money. By the way, I was well paid. Even if I told you how much right now, you'd be like, man.
Why Kaloni?
No. You'd be like, I need to learn a keyboard. I need to learn a keyboard, and because I was well catered for. So it was because not just demands for greener pastures, but the dreams and visions that I've always had as establishing PM Records also come in play, that I found myself now giving much more focus to this dream and vision that I had.
Okay.
So musicians being paid, let me go back, when you're earning 10K, then there's another offer of 100K. There's a scripture, one time I will share it here. Though pastors don't like this verse, but unfortunately it is in the Bible. So even if they hate it, they are hating the word of God, and the word of God is Jesus. So they are hating Jesus. But it is in Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 12. Nehemiah 13:12. It says, I will just quote it. It says, and it came to a time where the ministers, the Levites who are the ministers, and the musicians who were responsible for the service of the temple had gone to their own fields. Now, there's another point which I want to clarify on that. It says, to their own fields, because they were not being given enough to live.
Wow. That is also in the Bible.
I can open it now here at this platform. Or this producer can put it on the screen, Because there was nothing enough for them to live on. They had gone back to their fields. Now, what musicians understand as fields is gigs.
I have a feeling, indeed, Christians or preachers or men of God hate that. In my life, I think I've never heard of that scripture.
There's no church that is going to preach that.
I've never heard about it. Never.
It's only Solomon. Solomon. But also, this is not a way to send musicians to the club, to the gigs. It's not healthy. I have lived a life and I've had a chance to play in gigs. I've done it only like once, 2, 3 times, and it has birthed results. Good results for the secular world. There's a time I went and I played at a bar, and the boss said, who played today? What is your name? It was quite chicas there. The manager, the boss was Belgium. What is your name? Solomon. Solomon. Today you play, tomorrow you play, every time you play. You see, when you play, make more money. My clients very happy. Very drunk, make more money. Now I'm going to promote your money. All of you today. They were giving us about 1 million. They gave us 2.5 that day. And I went there and played. Then, because I was playing bass on that gig band. The next Friday we went, the one who was normally playing had come back. I said, no, boss, where is Solomon? Solomon play. I'm like, so which means when this thing in church it works, people drink the anointing and they are under the power. This side it also produces results. So you better choose.
We had to quit.
Yeah, you better choose where you're going to produce results, either for the kingdom or for the secular world, because it has disadvantages. And if it catches you there, I've seen quite a couple of friends of mine that have been sold out to the secular fall and they never recovered. We take them to church and the church nazimala. Church, like point at churches and blame them for their failure, in life. So it is, I would rather say, think outside the box. As a musician, you can still be a musician and not go to the gig. You can still be a musician and have a technical shop of phones. After dealing with your phone business, you go back to church. You can still be a musician and have a studio like mine. And that's why I'm having this as a business. Actually, time reached and I was depending more on my music production studio than church money. Yeah. So in order for you not to keep on blaming and pointing fingers at men of God, it is safer that way, that you can devise your time. And like I said, you treasure time, you trade it. You say, from morning to this time, I'll do my rehearsals. From this time to this time, I'm going to business. From this time to this time, I'm at church. So church eventually became, to me right now, I ministered. I even help churches. I still go to churches and help ministers and choirs. But whenever I am busy, I tell them, but this weekend I am busy. This weekend I'm not around. But now this is the thing, is even as much I would say I'm not around, does not mean let them feel I'm not around. Amen. No, I would always train people who can cover the gap. Now that's the minister part of me that I would love to spread out to those who are watching. But you don't have to leave a gap vacant.
You don't have to be you every time. You this Sunday, you next Sunday, you
exactly.
Overnight, you.
Actually, you can break down. I've ever gone through that, especially that season of 77 Dogs. I'm the only one. Felt good. To be the only one. But no, by the way, it reached a point whereby it really could break me down, because I'm a father, my kids need me, my wife needs me, and I needed at least to have people who could back me up. So I had a couple of ministers who ministered with me, even up till this day they still do, whereby I made sure that I am not missed. Now, being missed, if the ministry misses me, probably it's because the ones who are doing a job haven't really, thrived to the mark where I had reached. It's up to their work now, but for me, I gave them the
skills and everything,
and the directions and how to go about it and everything. But the whole point is, in as much as I knew every other thing, you cannot be, there's what we call as a one army man. One army man is one army musician. I can play a keyboard, I can play bass, I can play drums, I can do sound, I can do production. But when it comes to that moment, I can't play them all at the same time. You cannot go.
You need others to help.
Yeah, definitely. You need a drummer. You can't play them at once. So yet you can learn all of them at any given time. So now applying them, you need each other. So time reached, I needed to introduce others, even to the man of God, whereby I was the only one for him, that I had to not to train myself for others to work, not only to train them also to work, but I also had to train him to learn to work with others. To the day that this day now, he learned to work with anyone. Wow. But in the past years, had to be only one individual who carried out everything. So it's not bad to share out your knowledge, and every time, by the way, you give out, you receive. Every time you teach something to somebody, God will always be faithful.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm inspired. I don't know if they're inspired. But since you're a producer, this question goes to you, maybe to any other producer. But since we've had the chance to have you here, let's give you this question. A lot of artists have been complaining that chamber chorus you charge them a lot of money, and sometimes the music you do produce is actually not what they expected. How are the charges? Because looking at the gospel industry, in most cases, people come by calling. yabadde mu kirooto nafuna oluyimba
Mamuga.
mukama amugambye najja n'agamba somo nzize ate mu kirooto yalabye ng'oluyimba lukutte ku mitima gy'abantu. Guess what, this is your business. You have standards, you have waliwo ranges za ssente k'okolera ekintu ekyo nga baproducer mukikwasaganyiza mutya kubanga people complaining I might be here when I have like 20 songs but whenever I look at Solomon ne sente za charging agamba wange sikakoli.
Well, sure, sometimes of course dreams may mean a lot of other things. Yeah, one time a woman came and said, Pastor Nalosen Gwamutoyi, Bichi Mbirota nyo. Nangamba waliyo gwa mu ssente. Kugamba that story later. Nagamba ogenda beera bonna. And it came to pass, she became so rich. Like kale twali tulowooza nawe yawedde. But anyhow, dreams mean different things. When it comes to, I had an experience, I recorded a certain pastor whom I gave a charge. And he's like, Solomon, you're a man of God. How dare you? God gave me an instruction. I said, okay, so money. Please tell God to instruct me as well. Because he instructed you. So from the source where you're going to get money from me, I did. He didn't tell me to not to charge you. So he told you, go money. So sometimes, yes, it's important. Like I said, I trade time. What I am going to do for you, I'm going to put my time in it. So let me not charge the skills, Kali, but I'll charge you time. And how much is that time? That's the amount. You say, no, okay, don't talk about the anointing. Let's talk about the time I did or went through to invest into my skill. So musicians, and sometimes it's so sad, caliber producers, sometimes if we may not also return a favor of time, giving time to the work, to the client's work. And you say, let me invest my time because this person's money is his time of investment. Like Judge J was hard for his time, that she really sweat a lot to get this money. So they are bringing their time to you. So for you to waste time on it, really. So therefore will go and reinvest my time and learn again for the skill of this art of work this person has brought for me. So sometimes I've had points whereby people bring me their music and their art is not in my line of best of skill, I should say. Mtu ayinza okundetera akadongo kamu ayagala Solomon aba akola ki
kadongo
naye tenze siri mulungi ki akadongo kamu. What I will do, I'll call a producer friend of mine. Inaka music sample kenkoerezaawo line yo saba ompitiremu okankolere ngenda kuwa sente wezi oba jangu wano okole oba I connect that client to the other producer. So we have had a working relationship with a couple of producers that nti nabo bafuna bye batamanyi okukola ne bagamba producer gwemanyi ajja okukolera egundi. You know, doctors have that association. They can tell you how agenda, they can recommending the doctor what specialist. So we musicians also need to reach that level. It will, by the way, help our music to grow. Customer wange namutwala.
Oyinza oba tolemerako kubanga already wakikuboyina bangi naye ng'oli gwe gusoose nga mu ngeri yonna lwakiryayo nona okumuta.
So well, musicians, rather people have been given a mandate bambi yes to go and sing. Kakati bambi waliwo oli nga yakiroose Mukama yakimulaze najja naye ate eddoboozi tayi. I've had people and I helped them rearrange the song, rearrange the composition, and I've helped a lot of people in rearranging groups and choirs. But because by the time I help you rearrange, whatever is flexible, yaga mukama nze yakimpa bwati ntokyusa It's okay. Kale some clients babeera bwe batyo ne tubalekayo nga bwe bali. So that's when sometimes kati ate kiyindalinga gospel music ministry.
Doesn't that affect your reputation as you?
It does.
Because omuntu ajabuuza ani yamukubidde ekyo nakikubidde eri ku Prim Records.
Kakati I know some producers who used to even to chase our clients and say gundi tomanyi kuyimba. Naye ate ffe tubiteekamu omwoyo kama yamugange munnange. I don't want this person to reach the future at Earthwave nga succeeding agambe nze gwe mulaba nze nagendako ne ku Pim Solomon Nangoba agamba kati mulaba mukama jantuusiza. There are some people who have come to us nga ba this nga ba full but when we give them time. I've heard rather musicians a story of gentleman George Lubega Exodus. A brother of mine, Nicholas, normally talks about him that Exodus came here flatting, and not Tasobola Siga. But Exodus is one of the top notch levels. So imagine if a producer then just him out and say, "Boom, So, but then sometimes I tell people who don't know how to sing, God has given them a vision. I tell them, you know what? Keep engaged. Go in choir. Ingirako mu choir ku church yo, obeere active. Ogulewo amaloboozi ago. Every time they do, now by the next time you come here, between now and 5 months from now, we shall be doing song number 2. You will know. You will tell the difference from song number 1 to song number 2. So this one, don't hide your song, but I mean, don't hide the gift under the bed, like the candle. Don't light the candle and put it under the bed. Keep on, I mean, going out there, learn. Kati naffe kijja twangiranga ba producer. If you want to come and do a song, prepare yourself. Unless you've been in choir. I asked you before about singing.
Yeah.
And you said you've tried before, eh?
Yeah.
But do you know if you kept on insisting and persisting in it, you eventually would grow. Because all of us can speak. Eh? All of us, moment means there's a singing person in there. You just need to train the voice box, and you know. But then people, it's important for them to, go ahead and do their research, learn music, then come and minister. And as much as God told you, producer nagamba tomanyi kuyimba, naye ate nga naloose nyimba nga n'abantu nga balema batambula.
As you Solomon, Mr. Okay, how have you used this, should I call it fame, or that brand as you, I mean, do you have anything you could say that have built a school, a music school? How have you used this opportunity of being famous to help others?